I'm the anti-social, social media mogul, drinking up tons of coffee, acting like an asshole, slanging out slangers, counting up my stacks. I lost 80 pounds to get rid of my back fat. This is Mark Bell from SuperTraining.tv, Super Training Gym, the strongest gym in the West. I am on vacation, but the Power Project never goes on vacation, so we have some stuff to get to. I have a video to share with you of my boy, Ben Alderman, getting a 20-pound squat PR, hitting up a 405 squat. The guy weighs about 200 pounds. He is a CrossFitian, and he's making a lot of progress in his squats, his CrossFit times, and so on. And a lot of it is coming not just from doing CrossFit workouts, but also from implementing some simple powerlifting movements. Ben had a sticking point in his squat. You follow that? He had a sticking point in his squat, and fixed, and it is not totally, but we have solved a lot of the issue. A couple of things that were going on is Ben did not want to utilize his hamstrings. His hamstrings are very tight. His hamstrings are not nearly as strong as his quads, and so therefore he had to really kind of sit real forward on those knees in order to hit his squats up. And what would happen is the weight would get a little too heavy. He couldn't use his lower back or his hamstrings. Anytime he would get in a position where he had to use his lower back at all, he was completely finished. So he was missing his squats I'd say about halfway up. He wasn't missing them in the hole. He's missing them about halfway up. So that was his sticking point, and that's what we're going to go over today. A few things about sticking points is, one, you could work on better positioning. That could be a big issue for you. What's something that can help with better positioning? Better mobility would help, of course, and more betterist strength, obviously. So you have a couple of things that you can do. You can mobilize. You can do things like that you see off of mobilitywatt.com. You can mobilize the hips and the hamstrings. I'm not going to go too deep into that. That's Kelly Starrett's territory. And if you want to check that stuff out, I highly recommend you check it out. And also check out his book, Becoming a Supple Leopard. But it takes a lot more than that just to solve some of these problems when you're talking about strength training. And to solve these things through strength means that you're going to have to solve these things with weights. I like things like stiff leg deadlifts, good mornings. Those are exercises, even like walking lunges and so on. Those are exercises that are going to stretch your body. I don't do walking lunges because I got a bum knee. Maybe I should try to incorporate them just light. But some of those movements can be fantastic because you're going through ranges of motion that are deeper, that are different, that are further ranges of motion than you normally do. When you do a squat, the length of your hamstring doesn't change a whole lot. However, if you get rounded over, dumped forward in a squat, much like what happened to Ben from time to time, then all of a sudden your hamstrings are turned on and they're stretched. And if they're not ready to go, you're not going to be able to finish the lift. If you have hamstrings that can only squat 385 pounds, but you got quads that can squat 450, guess what? Your squat's only going to be 385 pounds until you bring up the strength of your hips. And that's why some guys are so confused. Like a guy like Ben, who's doing, I'm not exactly 100% sure of how much he cleaned, but I want to say he cleans about 365. And maybe that's being a little ambitious, but it's somewhere in there. And I also want to say that he could probably almost front squat a similar amount to what he can back squat. He's got a lot of strength and a lot of different movements. He's doing a 285, 290 pound snatch nowadays. I want to say he can overhead squat, some pretty good weight, 315 or so, somewhere in there. I might be bulking up his numbers a little bit, but if I am, I think it's just a couple pounds. But anyway, the point is sometimes people have a hard time figuring out why they can't make progress when they're actually quite strong in multiple areas. And one of the reasons is that they have a glaring weakness that they're not able to tap into or get into. So I always think the best thing, the ultimate problem solver, the ultimate equalizer is strength. And to try to solve things through strength and utilize things like stiff leg deadlifts and good mornings and good morning squat combos and eccentric good mornings and eccentric stiff leg deadlifts. Movements like that are going to be crucial in helping you to keep positioning. Also, like in the case of, like, let's say a squat, you can do a pause squat. A pause squat. Had a few technical problems there. We were talking about the pause squat. Pause squats can be great. They can be utilized for sets of anywhere between 4 to about 8 reps. The amount of seconds that you're trying to pause, anywhere between 3 to about 5 seconds, is about how long you're looking for. You can also take that a little bit of, you can take that a step further, and you can squat out of some chains, or it's going to have a different stimulus, it's going to have a different feel to it. But you can sit there at the bottom and keep the tightness and keep the majority of the weight kind of off the chain, not allowing yourself to get soft, not allowing yourself to completely allow all that weight to hang in the chain. And then you can get yourself tight, hold it for about 5 seconds, and then try to come back up. Those are extremely brutal. You can also let go completely, and you can do a set of about 6 reps, resting down there at the bottom for about 10 seconds, kind of whatever way you can. You can let go, you can bring your hips up, and you can kind of rest down there, and then reestablish positioning, hold it for a 2 or 3 count, get yourself real tight, and then drive those weights back up out of the hole. What you're going to find is, if you have some weaknesses and you're a person that tends to lift with a 2 or 3 part motion in your squat, those are going to be amplified when you do a movement like that. Now, I mentioned earlier, I talked about stiff leg deadlifts, eccentric stiff leg deadlifts, and eccentric good mornings. Eccentric good mornings is something I got from Jesse Burdick, something I started to implement, and they will light you up like you wouldn't believe. I'm always a big proponent of doing good mornings with a cambered bar. If you don't have a cambered bar, you can still utilize a regular bar. If it feels terrible to use a regular bar, just do stiff leg deadlifts. Stiff leg deadlifts done with eccentric of about 4 to 5 seconds can be extremely effective. You're going to feel it all the way through your lower back, all the way through your stomach, all the way into your lats. I mean, it is a brutal exercise. And again, that's considered an assistance movement. Some people mention that they have a hard time kind of feeling their quads or feeling their hamstrings during a squat. And what I would suggest is to do a superset. If you're having a hard time kind of feeling your hamstrings or sitting back in your hamstrings, try doing some stiff leg deadlifts with an eccentric phase of about 5 seconds. Do about 5 to 6 repetitions, and then do a pause squat in between that. Again, with about 5 to 6 second descent on the squat, and hold the squat at the bottom for about 4 seconds, and then come back up. By training slower, you can make yourself more powerful in some ways. Sounds kind of weird, sounds kind of awkward, but you're trying to get less out of using. You're trying to get more. Sorry about that. Trying to get more out of using less. That's what the assistance exercise can often be great for. And you can't just assistance exercise yourself to death. You will have to go heavy as well. You need both. You can't just use submaximal weights. You'll have to do both forms of training. But really, you know, in all truthfulness, when you're dealing with somebody who has a sticking point, you have to force things. You have to force greatness, and you have to force yourself to do things that you don't want to do, and you have to take those extra reps, those extra sets, and that's what my boy Ben Alderman has done, and that's how he succeeded and hit this 405 squat. For a long time, he was stuck around 365. It really didn't make sense because he was like cleaning the same amount of weight. And so now he's starting to make some progress. He's starting to have a shift in his favor. A couple other things that we utilized, bands and chains. By using accommodating resistance, it kind of helped him smash through these mini sticking points. The weights were, there's kind of a variable as you're going up. The weight is getting more and more intense. The weight's getting heavier. Weights are heavier at the top, lighter at the bottom, so it's kind of teaching him to plow through his sticking point. You can also utilize speed training to help you go through sticking points. Somewhere along the line I lost my sunglasses. I don't know how that happened, but I had many difficulties here at the beach trying to film this. So you got bands, you got chains. Don't forget and don't neglect anything, but don't neglect the core stabilization. I always suggest that you utilize pauses on that stuff too. Isometric training, I feel, is more effective for ab work, more so than anything. You want to use some weights and you want to use some isometric contractions, you could do weighted sit-ups off of a glute ham raise, for example, and holding 5-6 seconds at a time. You could do planks, you hold it for a minute, or you have someone pour tons of weight on your back with chains. Something to that effect will work really well. Also, you got things like side bends. You can do side bends. Side bends are sit-ups, but please don't lose that butt. Anyway, bad joke. But you can do side bends with a band. You can do side bends with a kettlebell. You can do side bends with a weight and a band. You can hook a band to your foot, and then you can choke it through the kettlebell, and you can do a side bend that way. Those are freaking brutal. I like to do side bends on my rack at the gym on the deadlift platform that we have. I just hook a band from one side to the other, and I grab the band in the middle, and I do a side bend. Those of you who have racks and Rogue racks, you can simply hook a peg up on one side and a peg up on the other. Not a Jason peg, but a band peg. You hook one up on one side, hook one up on the other, loop the band through, grab it, and hit up some side bends. So this is Ben Alderman hitting up a 405 squat. Enjoy the video. Later. Oh yeah, light today! Ah, yes! Woo!
That's a way to wake up.